morning. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the inaugural conference, Breakthrough Technology. My name is Rizwan JANJUA. I am Head of Technology at World Steel Association, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you here. Before I begin and take on anything else, let me just walk you through a couple of important items here. We have been very much pleased to see so much overwhelming support by our members as well as people in the value chain. So a big thanks to our sponsors. I would like to draw your attention to the antitrust guidelines that we introduce at all of our occasions. What it essentially means is that we do not engage in any type of price-related discussions, any concerted actions on part of the customers, or any actors in the supply chain. Because we are going to have only discussions related with technology, I do not think that we have got any risk. If you are in doubt, please get help or support from any one of my colleagues here. So safety is at the top of the important items that we have. I was told that there are no drills planned today, but in case there is any alarm, it will be the real one. So please follow those green exit signs. They are pointing towards outside. The assembly point is right outside the doors, towards your right side. When I looked at the number of registrations, we have got over 200 participants in person, and there are roughly 38 online. But not everybody I could see who has registered has downloaded the app, because the app is a very important tool for you to get engaged and then have the possibility of speaking with each other. So until we resolve some hiccups, I will keep on plodding. So I was introducing you about the app. It has got some great features there. So please download if you have not done it yet. So the QR code is available to you. So now we come to the remaining bits there. This journey started 2 years back by the launch of the Hydrogen, Iron and Steelmaking Forum in Seoul. And it has had 2 iterations so far, and now it is at a level or a junction now where it has grown tremendously. And we were asked by our colleagues to really increase the level of participation and also increase the topics that are under this platform. So what we have now, every technology that we are researching on to make a breakthrough in the CO2 reduction. So this will become a venue for discussion on all of those possible pathways. The world is not a homogeneous place. The resources and everything related with the environment or the resources is not uniformly distributed. So that leads to different pathways for the steel industry to follow. Hydrogen is one of those pathways, but there are several other techniques that the steel industry is trying to research on in order to reduce its environmental footprint. And we are going to get to hear all of those different breakthroughs in those 2 days. The way we have set up the program is that we have divided it into 3 sessions. The first session is going to talk about the carbon reduction using carbon capture and storage, as well as recycling, keeping it in kind of a semi-perpetual loop. The second one is the hydrogen-based reduction, and the third one is the electrification using more scrap. And we will get to hear all of those noteworthy examples being highlighted there. There are roughly 25 presentations lined up, and as is always the case in a conference like this, there are some last-minute changes, so I do apologize for that in advance. We were not helped by the weather in Europe. There's lots of snow, so there were some flights getting disrupted. So some of the attendees or the presenters, they will be doing that online. So we will make sure that everything is seamlessly integrated in there. In terms of logistics, apart from the 2 days of the conference, there are attendees staying in this hotel and the other one. So we have arranged the transportation. You will get all that information when you download the app on your phone. So every time there is, the bus is leaving someplace, you will get a notification in advance. So that is to make sure that we have got everything in place. So that concludes my brief introduction there. So now I would like to ask WorldSteel Director General, Dr. Edwin BASSON, to make a welcome speech and follow the proceedings.
Thanks, everyone. Good morning, also from my side, and welcome here in Abu Dhabi. Mr. Choi, Mr. HASHEM, you are our special guests, but we have also the honor of having a room full of very, very honored guests and participants in our technology conference for the next 2 days. As Rizwan have said, this is our first technology conference specifically focusing on the challenge of decarbonization. But it follows on 2 very important meetings or discussions in a similar vein that we had in the previous 2 years, arranged by POSCO, focusing on the role of hydrogen in the steelmaking process. This conference, though, focuses on additional challenges, on what we should be doing in the steel industry to decarbonize onto the future, which is challenging all of us to get to a zero emissions future. The hope is that through sharing information and technology experiences at a meeting like this, we can, each of us in our own way, move forward faster and make the breakthroughs that are required. But let me start by thanking, firstly, Emirates Steel, our partner here in Abu Dhabi, for their support and advice. Without your input, it would not have been easy to arrange this conference, so thank you for all the support so far. Also to all of our sponsors, Rizwan have shown them earlier. Without your input, without your financial support, this conference would not have been possible. Thank you very much for your support. And then lastly, to you, all of you in the room, the speakers, the participants in the next 2 days. This is really about you and about your experience and input and how we can go forward as an industry. Thank you for being here and for taking the trouble. And as Rizwan has said, not all of us could get here. Some of us had to spend some that wanted to be here now spent time in Dubai. Some could not get here because of weather events, but still we have a good outcome, and we have a hope for a very, very good and sensible discussion. Our steel industry is quite fortunate in the sense that steel as a product and as a material already compares quite favorably against most of the other materials when it comes to CO2 emissions on a unit basis. So we start at a good point. But our industry is a large energy user, we're a large emission emitter, we have not got the luxury to do nothing further. We have to move forward, and we have to take the lead in decarbonizing further. Our benefits are that we already have a fairly good sight on the technologies that we could use into the future. We have a good idea of where the restrictions are, what these technologies can do for us and what they cannot do for us. And we have also a good idea that our industry will need support from other industries, and we know where we need the support. But at the moment, one of the challenges are that the support, particularly from the energy industry, is slower than we anticipated. And that may force us as an industry to adjust our route slightly. The devil is always in the detail. And this conference is about getting to the level of detail where we can begin to discuss and explore appropriate responses and conclusions on how to go forward. Please share your ideas, please share your progress as openly as it is possible for you to do. So far, our industry have started way back with working with the International Energy Agency to try and develop a series of route maps on what we should be doing going forward. The IEA report came out, and that was a combined report of the International Energy Agency and participants in the steel industry. World Steel was merely a collaborator in the process, or a convener of the process. But essentially, the IEA came up with 3 broad paths of progress. Path 1 said there is a lot that we can do as an industry using existing technologies, but focusing on efficiency. Some are already doing it better than others, and there is some benefit to be had for our industry to just become more efficient in whatever we do. That remains a key principle of the route forward. Route 2 was to say, well, capture the benefit in the short term of the fact that we have multiple technologies for steelmaking available in the industry, and one of them, the electric arc furnace technology making use of scrap as an input, already has a lower CO2 emission factor than the other routes. So focus on that route. The challenge with that idea is that there is not enough scrap in the world to supply everybody with steel made through the EAF route. And secondly, depending on regional factors, some regions are not going to get to an EAF scrap route-based steelmaking process for many, many years to come. And we do not want to allow economies not to develop and societies to remain undeveloped or underdeveloped because of the fact that they do not have access to steel. Steel, after all, is a key input in the development process of all nations. And that means we have to start exploring further ideas. One of the ideas were exploring the process of direct reduction coupled with hydrogen, and that still is a viable idea, except there are a couple of question marks. One is the question of the fact that hydrogen generally tends to prefer to work with high-quality iron ore, which is in short supply and limited supply globally. So we need to do some work on developing hydrogen interaction with lower quality ores as well. There's a second question, and that is a lot of things we still do not know about hydrogen as a reductant. How do you transport it safely? How do you store it safely? How do you heat it properly and safely before use? And how do you do this sensibly within built-up communities? These are questions where we need answers to. But it is also clear at this stage that going forward till 2050, we will require at least for half or thereabouts of future steel demand, the existing mainstay of steel production, the blast furnace, to remain in place. Without that, we will not be able to satisfy future demand for steel. And the moment we say blast furnace, then it means we also need other solutions. What is the role that DRI can play in reduction within the blast furnace? Are there ways to replace or reduce the role that coal can play within the blast furnace? Are there any potential future clean coal technologies that we can utilize? And these are the questions that we need to explore also on the way forward. The blast furnace by no means is dead yet in our industry, but we have to help it to become better and less CO2 emittent into the future. And this conference is all about not only stating these challenges, but finding developments. All of us are doing work, all of us are doing research and development work. How can we share and make the best of these opportunities? And this is, after all, where this conference is coming from. A few years ago, within World Steel, our members said, why do we not do joint research and development? We explored the opportunity from that perspective, from the perspective of competitions law in many economies. It was not possible to do joint research and development. And as a result, we said, let's then rather have these open technology conferences where we can discuss openly as far as we can and share information. As it happens, a very small opportunity has developed now with some changes in the law in EU that may very well allow us to do some limited joint research and development, and we are investigating this as an opportunity. If any of you are interested in participating in this process, please speak to Rizwan. He's intimately involved in this evaluation that we are doing through the EU. And let us then see whether we could potentially move forward with a joint research and development program as well. With all of this, I thank you firstly again for your presence here. I thank you in advance for your participation, your ideas, and your discussions. Because without you and your inputs, we as an industry would not be able to move forward on the path of decarbonization. And I am fully convinced if the steel industry is not there, modern world will struggle to move down the path of environmental progress. So we have a big role to play, we have big opportunities, and we are fortunate in the sense that our technologies allow us to progress and to adjust on the way to decarbonization. So therefore, again, thank you, and thank you for your presence and your input here. I have to, at this stage, apologize. We were going to have a speaker or two from the UAE government, but as we've said earlier, they are all fully tied up in the discussions in Dubai at the moment with the COP discussions, and they've asked us to please accept their apology. They could not be with us today. But we are still fortunate that we have two eminent speakers. We have Mr. Choi, the chairman of POSCO Holdings and ex-chairman of World Steel Association, to join us today as a speaker in this opening session. And after him, we'll have Mr. Medhat HASHEM from Emirates Steel, COO from Emirates Steel, I think, also sharing his thoughts with us. And after these two speakers, we will ask Mr. HASHEM to lead the process of cutting the ribbon of the exhibition on the outside, and you are all welcome to share in that process. I will conduct the rest of the proceedings in this opening session till tea time, and then you will have the luxury of not having to look into my face anymore after that. With that, I am very honored to introduce our next speaker, as I've said, Mr. Jeong-Woo CHOI. He's the chairman of POSCO Holdings. He's, for the last number of years, done very, very interesting and exciting development work in POSCO, and as we've said earlier, also led the process of the role of hydrogen as part of the decarbonization route of the steel industry. He was also, for the last year, the chairman of World Steel Association. He played a significant role in helping us to guide CEOs in the steel industry around the world to properly focus on the challenge of decarbonization. There is few better people to speak to us about the challenges in our industry than Mr. Choi, and with that, I give the microphone to Mr. Choi.
Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to welcome you to Abu Dhabi for the first Breakthrough Technology Conference, sponsored by the World Steel Association. The steel industry faces monumental challenges in the years ahead, and we must identify breakthrough technology to overcome these challenges. In particular, energy will play a key role. That is why I think hosting the first Breakthrough Technology Conference in energy-rich Abu Dhabi is very appropriate. Steel is indispensable to modern society. It is used in construction, transportation, electronics, and medicine. In most of these applications, no other material can replace steel. It is worth noting that when compared to its peers, steel has a smaller carbon footprint. Therefore, without steel, our world would look very different. That is why we must ensure continuous and sufficient availability of steel. Despite these undeniable benefits of steel, our industry must decarbonize to fight climate change and address greenhouse gas emissions. In fact, due to our size and presence, many stakeholders, including governments and diverse activities, expect us to serve as the leader. For example, more customers are demanding steel products with a lower carbon intensity. This conference is about sharing ideas that we can implement to speed up innovation for change. The sustainability of the steel industry is crucial to the global society. While a daunting challenge, its urgency is undisputed. Fortunately, we have already defined a roadmap to get to net zero, as well as the required breakthrough technologies. Therefore, significant investments are being made to build a new production facilities and to test and develop low-carbon processes. This is proof that steel industry is already on its journey to a net zero future. Carbon abatement is not new to POSCO. We have long recognized the importance of decarbonization. Years ago, we began to explore ways to make steel by using hydrogen, which we call HYREX. It began in 1992 when we started research to develop FINEX, POSCO's own process that partially mixes hydrogen into the final agent used to reduce iron ore. By 2007, we were able to build a commercial scale plant. The vital experience we gained from operating Finex is what gives us the confidence to build Hyrex that will use 100% hydrogen. In the next 2 days, we would like to share with you what makes POSCO's technology so compelling. Around the world, numerous R&D programs are underway to explore low-carbon steelmaking solutions. However, new technology and process development, as well as the funding for these efforts, must also be made sustainably. In that context, we know that many of us are conducting R&D on the same or similar topics. No one can argue against the benefit of removing duplication of efforts to find a common solution to common problem. Previously, however, EU competition law did not allow us to pool our collective efforts for R&D. Fortunately, a recent amendment opened the door lawful joint research. Therefore, the World Executive Committee recently agreed to study the possible creation of a joint R&D program, something similar to World Auto Steel, which has been operating for more than 20 years. The aim of joint R&D is not to replace all individual member R&D activities. Instead, we wish to harness our collective resources on a few specific and common challenges to speed up progress. As my final point on the journey to global decarbonization, we need to develop a standard method to measure greenhouse gas emissions by site and at product level. World Steel has been collecting emission data for more than 20 years. Recently, the G7 working group agreed to use our data to seek harmonization of emission measurement. I hope that the standards offered by World Steel will help build a rationale for all G20 countries to adopt our methodology eventually. Chain of custody guarantees are being discussed at the product level to provide customers with commonly accepted and consistent data. To reiterate, our industry has embarked on the path of decarbonization. While each region's journey may be different, I am confident we will succeed. In closing, I wish you a constructive conference for the next 2 days and to take great stride in your net zero journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Choi. You will have heard that Mr. Choi made mention of the common measurement principles, hopefully going to make use of worldsteel methodologies for CO2 emissions, both at site level as well as at product level, in other words, life cycle assessment level. You may have seen, or it may have slipped your notice, but 2 days ago in Dubai, it was agreed that the worldsteel steel standards principles will hopefully be the process going forward. It's supported now by the World Trade Organization. It is supported by most G20 governments. And as far as I am aware, this is one of the very first agreements at industry level that an industry decided to use the same measurement principles going forward. This helps us tremendously in the process of decomplexifying future trade routes, future trade data information, and future comparisons between countries on decarbonization. So thank you, Mr. Choi, for reminding us of that very important process, and I'm quite happy we are going forward. We are also fortunate, as I've said, to have the COO of Emirates Steel, our partner here in Abu Dhabi, also with us today. Mr. Medhat HASHEM is the Chief Operating Officer. He stands in gracefully today in the role of Sahid Al-Rumaiti, who's the chairman of Emirates Steel Arkan. He is unfortunately working in Dubai, but we are very, very happy, Mr. HASHEM, that you are here, and we look forward to your message. Please join me.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, we would like to thank the World Steel Association for organizing this important conference, where we will explore the impact of technology in shaping our green future. I would like also to thank you, the audience, speakers, and the fellow colleagues for joining us on this important occasion where we stand united in our commitment to shape a sustainable future at COP28. As the world races to meet ambitious decarbonization targets and embrace sustainable practices, Emirates Steel Arkan stands out among the leading decarbonized steel and building materials manufacturers in the world. We believe in the power of action, collaboration, and innovation to lead the steel and building materials industry toward a greener horizon. Our journey is rooted in a shared vision with the UAE and the COP28 presidency, understanding that climate action is not just a responsibility, but an economic opportunity. Our nation views climate action as a catalyst for growth, and so do we. We see sustainability as a pathway to economic prosperity, aligning our goals with the broader vision for a thriving green economy. Today, we stand at the forefront of the industry's sustainability revolutions. We are pioneers in the transformation of steel and building materials, integrating innovation and technology throughout our value chain. From raw material sourcing to the delivery of the finished products, we are actively reducing our climate and environmental impact across the pillars of carbon emission, energy consumption, resource depletion, waste, and supply chain sustainability. But most importantly, our commitment extends beyond operations to include suppliers and partners, fostering industry-wide sustainability practices. We are a trusted low-carbon steel supplier to over 70 markets around the world, and the first steel company to globally employ carbon capture technology, sourcing most of our electricity needs through clean energy. Our production process also emits less than half carbon compared to average world steel industry levels. Our decarbonization roadmap encompasses carbon capture, green hydrogen, clean energy, scrap metal utilization, and energy efficiency, exemplifying our commitment to a greener future. Our journey towards carbon neutrality is well underway, and our pledge is bold: a 40% reduction in carbon emission by 2030, with the primary aim of achieving a net zero by 2050. Through clean electricity sourcing, carbon capture, and innovative processes, we are redefining industry standards. And today, we have already achieved a remarkable 35% reduction in emissions intensity by sourcing 80% of clean electricity and utilizing carbon capture and scrap metals. At Emirates Steel Arkan, we are not just reducing carbon emissions, we are charting the path for a sustainable industry. Together, let us continue to forge ahead, transforming challenges into opportunities, and collaborating to build a future where sustainability is not just a choice, but a way of life. Thank you.
It's interesting, Mr. Hashem mentions 35% reduction in emission intensity. Excuse me. This we begin to see everywhere throughout the steel industry now are these examples of real progress going forward. At other areas, to be honest, we still do not see the reduction in emissions intensity, and that's part of what we are about, is to learn from each other and how to become better. Thank you very much also for your willingness to participate in this process. Before we go next door to cut the ribbon in the exhibition from our sponsors, I have seen early this morning we have one of our executive committee members. World Steel has an executive committee, which is an advisory committee consisting of senior CEOs in our industry. And Ugur Dalbeler, Ugur, you are here. There you are. Won't you come and join us in the ribbon cutting ceremony, please? While you are here, I might as well put you to good use to help us to make sure that everybody follows us. So, Mr. Medhat, I give the floor back to you for the ribbon cutting ceremony, which I think is taking place, Rizwan, just so out at the back and then to the right and then back in. It's basically in the room next door. After the ribbon is cut, we'll automatically go into coffee time or tea time. And I would ask you all to be back in the room by 11 o'clock. Is okay, Rizwan? 11 back in the room after coffee, but first we go to the ribbon cutting ceremony. Mr. Medhat, you will lead the way for us, please.